It's time for my NFL picks for the Divisional Round. Last week, my picks posted a 4-2 record against the spread, as you can see on your screen. That included winning the pick I liked the most, the Rams plus 3.5 points in Detroit. Let's keep rocking the sports books this week. I'm Professor MJ, a 15-year university statistics teacher from Quebec City in Canada. The first game of the weekend concerns the Texans facing the Ravens. Once again, it looks like we're going to beat the closing line. I jumped on a bet on Tuesday at 11:54 a.m. Eastern Time, which was under 45 points to be scored in that game. You can see the line movement as shown on covers.com. At the time I'm shooting this video, the line has dropped to 43.5 with most bookies. I know that makes some viewers upset because the line is not the same now, but that's exactly the benefit of joining my group of savvy sports bettors at mjpicks.com. By doing so, you get the exact same lines as I do, and we often beat closing lines, which explains our success. I still like the under despite the line movement, but I am obviously not as excited. You may want to consider buying half a point to 44 for extra security. That being said, why do I like the under in this interesting matchup? Let's start with Baltimore's offense against Houston's defense. Lamar Jackson has not enjoyed much success during the postseason in his career. Not only does he hold a 1-3 record, but the offense has generated an average of 13 points per game. Houston's head coach, DeMeco Ryans, is a former linebacker. He was also San Francisco's defensive coordinator for a couple of years, including a season where his defense led the league in points and yards allowed. He has what it takes to game plan against the Ravens. They won't shut them down, but they can limit the damage. Star tight end Mark Andrews might be back from an injury. I'm not overly concerned about this piece of news since he could be rusty in his return. Let's remember he has not played since week 11. Okay, let's switch our attention to Houston's offense against the tough Ravens defense. The latter led the NFL in scoring defense. They also finished 6th in terms of yards allowed per game. But here is a more important fact that could be flying under the radar here. The Ravens have racked up the highest number of sacks this season, while Houston's offensive line surrendered the 11th most sacks. But that's not it. Rookie sensation CJ Stroud is great at throwing the ball down the field. However, Baltimore's defense finished first in DVOA when teams attempted to throw the ball downfield against them. Good timing is important when it comes to moving the ball on offense. I'm afraid that could be more difficult in the first half of the game for the Ravens since their starters have not played in 3 weeks. Let me add a final argument. As good as Stroud is, I'm worried about the number of reliable targets that he has. The team lost Tank Dell for the season, and Noah Brown will also miss the game. Nico Collins is a solid weapon, but the depth behind him is worrisome. So for all of those reasons, I think the best bet regarding the Houston versus Baltimore meeting is to grab the under. Now let's keep rolling with my top pick with respect to each of the remaining 3 games. The Packers will travel to the Bay Area to face the well-rested 49ers. San Francisco is established as a 9.5 point favorite. That's a large spread when facing a QB that has thrown 21 TDs versus just 1 interception over his past 9 games. But ultimately, I would lean towards betting the Niners minus 9.5 points. Granted, this pick is not the one that I like the most. I am unlikely to place a bet, but this video is intended to entertain and inform you. so I still wanted to share a pick on each game. The main reason why I tend to back the NFC's number 1 seed is because of Green Bay's defense. I don't think they'll be able to stop Brock Purdy and company. Sure, they did a solid job in Dallas last week, but they were able to make them one-dimensional since the Cowboys struggled to run with the ball. That won't happen this week since they are facing Christian McCaffrey, who led the entire NFL in rushing yards this year. The Packers' defense squandered the 5th most rushing yards, so that will cause major headaches to Green Bay's coaching staff. Brock Purdy was not overwhelmed by the playoff pressure last year. He tossed 3 TD passes and accumulated 332 passing yards against the Seahawks last year. Let me also bring up again an underrated betting factor that I have mentioned on a few occasions during the regular season. According to scientific reports, peak athletic performance occurs in the late afternoon. That gives an edge to West Coast teams facing teams from the East in late games. When the game starts at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Saturday, that will correspond to 5 p.m. body clock for San Francisco's players, which is ideal time according to scientists. Of course, the Niners also have a huge advantage in terms of rest. They have been at home for 3 straight weeks and they are basically coming off a bye week. So ultimately, I'm going to lay the big 9.5 points on the 49ers. Green Bay's defense allowed 30 points to the lowly Carolina offense not very long ago. San Francisco has won its past 5 home playoff games, and CMC is now healthy after resting for a few weeks. The only way Green Bay could keep up with Kyle Shanahan's squad is if Aaron Jones can help the Packers sustain long drives. He has the talent to do it, but I'm still going to back San Francisco here. On Sunday, we will kick things off with a Tampa Bay versus Detroit matchup. What is the best bet on this game, are you asking? My best guess is to go with the Tampa Bay team total to go over 20.5 points. Right now, I am seeing Mezosier with a minus 105 line, or FanDuel and Betway with minus 110 odds on that market. Or you could get better odds with a total of 21.5 points with some sportsbooks. First of all, let me mention a betting trend that I found astounding. Did you know that the Bucs presented an impressive 8-1 record against the spread on the road this season? That shows they can get the job done away from home. Tampa's pass defense struggled this year. Indeed, they allowed the 4th most passing yards in the NFL. They did a good job against Philly last week, but the Eagles had Jalen Hurts banged up and A.J. Brown out. Why do I bring this all up? Because I think the Lions will have a lot of success throwing the ball against them. Moreover, Jared Goff's numbers were significantly better at Ford Field than they were on the road. If Detroit's offense is able to move the ball effectively via their passing game, that will force the Bucs to try to keep up with them. And honestly, I believe they have enough weapons to do it. Like him or not, Baker Mayfield has done a good job this season under center, and he has very decent weapons at his disposal, with Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Trey Palmer, and tight end Kate Otton. And let's be honest, it's not like Detroit's pass defense was very stingy. As a matter of fact, they allowed the 6th highest number of passing yards in the league. I know that Mayfield and company did not fare well in the first meeting back in Week 6. He only threw for 206 yards, and the Bucs went 2 for 12 on 3rd downs. I think they will right the ship and put at least 21 points on the board this weekend. So give me the over for Tampa's team total on Sunday in a very loud Ford Field. Last but not least, we have a superb Chiefs versus Bills classic matchup. Patrick Mahomes versus Josh Allen on a cold January day. It doesn't get any better than this. You have certainly heard the fact that Mahomes will be playing his first ever road playoff game of his career. But some people will counter with the following argument. Mahomes is 8-1-1 against the spread as an underdog. His lone ATS loss occurred against those same Bills last year. After analyzing this game in depth, I decided to go with Buffalo straight up. I could have taken the spread, but I'm worried about a super tight victory by the Bills. I could see them winning a close game by a 1 or 2 point margin, and I would be pissed to lose my bet despite Buffalo going to the AFC Championship game. That's why I've decided to play it safer by taking the money line here. Let's get rid of the bad news first. KC gets 2 extra days of rest since they played last Saturday while Buffalo fought against the Steelers on Monday. Also, the Bills were already depleted on defense and things got even worse last week with a few more injuries. After losing Matt Milano for the season, they also have 3 linebackers listed as questionable right now: Dodson, Bernard, and Spector. At cornerback, Tre'Davious White has been out for a while, and they also have 3 guys listed as questionable: Taron Johnson, Rasul Douglas, and Christian Benford. Based on what I read, many of them could still suit up this Sunday, so that is reassuring. The Chiefs' defense is much better defending the pass than the run. That may not necessarily be a huge problem for the Bills. They showed how they can also pound the rock when needed, just as the Cowboys, who got smashed for 266 rushing yards in Buffalo. And since Joe Brady took over as the offensive coordinator, Josh Allen has been running with the ball more often. Patrick Mahomes does not trust his wide receivers, outside of Rashee Rice. Even Travis Kelce has made a surprisingly high number of drops. That could prove costly. In true home games at Highmark Stadium, the Bills generated an 8-1 record. I know Mahomes is a proven winner, but I believe Buffalo gets a monkey off their back by finally eliminating the Chiefs this weekend. I expect to be able to find between 6 and 10 solid prop bets for the divisional round. They are the most money-making bets that you can make in the NFL, as I showed you last week. We literally destroyed the sportsbooks on those wagers this year. If you are interested to receive them directly in your mailbox and via SMS, simply sign up at mjpigs.com by choosing American football as one of your selected sports. I'm Professor MJ, holder of a Ph.D. in statistics. I'm looking forward to grow your bankroll at mjpigs.com.